Hey, what is going on, you guys? Welcome back to CCxRC, and on the bench we have something special. This is the Furitek Cayman Pro 6x6, their carbon fiber kit that has the TX and the RX with it. They make a version that doesn't have the radio, but this is the fully ready to run version. As you can see, it looks pretty fantastic. There's been a lot of debate about the body, and well, this is an FMS body, so they're able to get these to put on there, and it doesn't have all the extra accoutrements like the windows and all that, or the wheel wells. It's more of a comp truck, so you could add the windows, you could get stuff. They sell parts for these, so if you wanted, you could do that. But I mean, out of the box, it looks pretty fantastic for what you're getting, you guys. So what are we getting? There's a lot under the hood here. Let's dig in. So they've got their springbok up here. This is their metal geared servo up front. They've got metal links. They've got the FMS portal axles, 3 sets of them going down here. Look at that. Skid plate here's aluminum links, tons of links. They're everywhere. 12 links total, plus the 2 front links here, which are rounded on the bottom, which is nice for helping it slide on the rocks and all that. Metal shocks in here that feel nice and soft out of the box, I will say. They've got this kind of cool little skid trays under here as well, plastic. And on that, you're going to have your receiver on this side. And then they've got a Furitek Lizard Pro in a case. How cool is that? With the Bluetooth module all tucked in here clean, with their new Mini Stellar transmission and the Mini Komodo. You can see that where it says Mini. Spinning it, but that's just me moving the tires. That's how free these axles are, which is nice. So that is the Mini Komodo 1806-2000. Battery trays up front. You got the magnet mounts there, carbon fiber frame rails, and looks like you got plenty of clearance. The out of the box, it's going to be tough to kind of fully judge what is the angle here, because the flex is hard to judge because there's so many tires if you go to the far back ones. These are going to be kind of really just a tricked out truck for the guy that has everything 24 scale in my mind. I mean, the customizability of this, look at all the link options that you have here, all those holes, and you've got them here and here. All your upper links have multiple mounting options. Your shocks have just a boatload of options. And so they've really done a good job tucking all this wiring in here. They've gone and made this spring-like by wrapping these and getting a nice coil going for your wire here, for your servo. But overall, I mean, everything about the build looks good. It's all top-notch products. People are going to talk about the price. This you should consider to be a very upgraded version of an SCX24 or TRX4. I mean, it's when you buy the stock truck and then you put every single optional upgrade on it. They've kind of gone and done that for you. Better than stock servos. You've got, you know, the aluminum gear case here, brushless motor, ESC. You know, the radio, I'd argue, is better than the ones that come with the SCX24, but not the Traxxas. I do like these radios. They're very comfortable in your hand. They run on AAA batteries. Sliding this off here, sliding 4 AAAs down inside there. I find them to just work well, so I don't mind this radio being installed at all. It's very much like the ones that come with the Mini B or the low C's, their 18 scale Truggy and Buggy, the Mini T and Mini B, that kind of style. And so you can get different receivers for them very cheap. And it's just kind of like it's used in a bunch of different things. So it's not their proprietary radio. You know, if you want to get into a bunch about that, most of them aren't in these kind of things. So it's just a repurposed one they can get cheap and add to it and make it a full ready to run. Their avatar is something that they do on their own with all the tech and all that involved. But I like it. For a 6x6, you know, again, not a ton of people are doing it. I definitely prefer this over what the FMS did with their old Chevy one, because, I mean, this is just more of something I would want to have a 6x6 in, something more comp and built towards ability, where that was like this really awesome hard body, and it would have been really cool as a scale truck, and then they changed it and they went after some that's like in the video game styling, snow runners or whatever that was. But I prefer something like this. I can see this being used in many different ways, especially being more capable. So we're going to get it on the rocks. We're going to see how it does. We'll talk about the performance and all that after, because, you know, we know a lot of this stuff. I actually haven't used this mini Komodo yet, so I'm excited to give this a run and try it out. But I'm very familiar with the Lizard Pros and other electronics and parts from Furitek, and I've been very pleased with them and haven't had any issues with any of their stuff so far. I will say there's not any way to mount the back of the body on here. It kind of just tucks in here and sits on the frame rails, but there isn't anything like keeping it there. So it may bounce around as we drive. We'll find out. The front does have magnets, and I guess we could try to figure out a way to mount something on the back here. I'm not sure. I maybe could do Velcro on these sides and on the inside, so when I put it in here and squeeze it, it would tighten down, but I don't know. And the other thing I'm noticing is this does move a little bit back here, so there's a little bit of play in this. So this didn't come in a box, and maybe that'll be something that gets addressed in the production ones. It's just something I'm noticing here. But even a little dab of glue or something on those to keep it in place, just if it annoys you. So we'll find out when we drive it. I don't think it'll be too big of a deal. But if it does become annoying and rattles a lot, it might be something I want to look at. Maybe just adding a dab of glue or something in there to hold it in place. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm going to get this out and we're going to run it, and then we'll get back to you. All right, so as I'm putting this together and putting the battery in here, I wanted to just point out where the battery plugs in on the side there. There's also a little switch that you use to turn it on and off, which I like. All right, just a quick test before we take it all the way up to the track. Really a lot of steering. At least angle. It's not going to be the tightest steering because of the size, but it looks awesome. But even with the stock radio, it's got so much control. Look at that. Turbo stick. Peppy too. Super smooth. This mini Komodo is nice. All right, you guys, we're up here at CCxRC getting some oohs and ahs over this thing already. It is a looker, that is for sure. And I mean, you can tell right away looking at it that it's kind of a next level 6x6 in this scale. There's some other ones out there from FMS. You've got the Atlas, and then you had their Apache as well. And I like both of those, but this thing goes to a whole nother level with the capability. There, I realized that the rear tire was not tightened down all the way, so I actually went and tightened them all down. They all were just a little bit loose out of the box, so we snugged them up and went back to it. So as you can see, one of the most impressive things about this is the rear end, how all of those links are set up, linked axle to axle, and how it makes it flex in the rear is awesome looking. So right there, it's really flexing. But this is a really tough little obstacle to get over, and this thing struggled with it too. So it was really dusty. the 10 scale guys had just basically been running. They had a huge group. I gotta say, the crowds that are showing up at Reaction these days is insane. The place was full while we were doing our comp. They also had like a Jeep meetup, and they were just all over, just going hard on the course. And so everything's kind of loosened up from that, which is making it a little bit harder with the grip. But get into some rocks and you see how it does. But even that, you can see the coast, light dusting that it has on it. So it eventually I'll take it over to the smaller course that we run the comps on, but it was comp night, so they were running those at the same time, and so I couldn't be in the way. But as it slowed down in the evening and there was an opening, I went and took the opportunity and grabbed some footage of it running on the courses. But the tires for a stock tire aren't that bad. There are worse tires that come on ready to runs, and so these are kind of in between, and it's not the worst tire combo. The overall ability of this truck out of the box is super fun. So, it's not going to do comps. The steering was the other thing that surprised me. It turned better than I thought it would for how long it is. Kind of as good as I've gotten most of my FMS axles to turn. But yeah, checking out the flex there with everybody. Really cool looking when it drives. So, did not do a good angle there. Chose that path wrong, but I was too busy trying to look at the flex. And the one thing is, there is a big opening between the front and rear end, and the way that your truck, it doesn't lift up as fast because of the rear end being longer, and so you do hang differently with this than you do with some of just the 4x4s. So that's just one thing that I did notice, but overall it did pretty good. It was pretty impressive out of the box. And with the price tag, it should be. It should be better than the competition, and it definitely is. So, the Mini Komodo, I thought with the stock setup in here as far as the radio and all that, had lots of control. And the tune felt really good on mine. It felt very smooth. I could give it power where I wanted it. Maybe in reverse it was a little bit touchy, but it wasn't too bad. I didn't find myself hitting reverse that often, honestly, on the course. And the few times that I did, it didn't feel too crazy. So that's not something that stood out to me, because some of them I do talk about how jumpy they can be with the reverse. But just showing off the drive there. People were asking if they were all powered, so I was just showing them. But yeah, here, nice creep control coming down here, and then if I need to punch it out to keep it from rolling, I have that extra speed. The Mini Komodo just feels really good as a platform. I'm gonna actually try it in my comp crawler and see if that's kind of a middle ground that I'll like. That's when I first found him when he was doing this 6x. Yep. See there, I didn't go jumping in reverse. It's kind of smooth. Here it was, but I'm trying to unstick it, so I'm trying to use the speed in both directions to kind of unstick myself. I did get it unstuck, but then there wasn't anywhere I wanted to go with it, and I had to watch out so I wouldn't tear the course up because it's set up for comps. So I just kind of moved up and out of the way so that I wouldn't tear up their course. Look at the slow creep there and just the flexing. I just love watching the articulation in the rear end. It's just fantastic. One thing that I will point out is it did not have vibration in the rear end that I thought it would, where that plate was a little bit slippery. I didn't even notice it. And the body actually held on pretty good with those two magnets up front. Even with some of the rollovers that I had, it stayed on there. But you don't see it bouncing around or anything or looking crazy. It actually works pretty good how they have it set up. Now here I'm avoiding going through the gates because in a different spot I had knocked one gate over, and because the comp was still going on, I was trying to stay away from areas that I might, ruin the track or tear it up when somebody else still has to come through. Look at that flex though. I mean, that right there makes me want to drive it and just keep seeing that kind of a look. super cool. But yeah, I mean, for a 6x6 on the scale course setup for it, it's handling super good. And as you can see, everything's a little bit tighter here. It's not as dusty. And then we took it to the other track. Same thing. It's not as dusty as the 10 scale because we're not as big of a vehicle, and so we're not tearing things up as much. We don't have the power, and it was, recently watered for the comp. Everything is a much better driving condition, and so that's where you see how this thing can shine. Again, these gates are not set up for it. These ones are a little bit more flexible, though, so I was willing to go through them because I wasn't going to mess up the area. This is always a problematic area for the four-wheel drives, and so I just wanted to give it a little test here with the 6x6 and see if the extra length helped. It did up until a point, which is right there, but there is enough wheel speed that if you really bump it, you can get it up and over, and then this is wicked. Such a cool move right there. But yeah, wheel speed, slow crawlability. Even back there when I did do the reverse, it wasn't super jumpy. The radio really impressed me for what it is. It doesn't have the tunability of their Avatar, but with the setup, driving one-handed here and holding my phone in the other hand, there's so much I could do with it. For driving one-handed, which isn't something that I like to talk about. That's a big deal to me. And so out of the box, ready to run, with an okay ready-to-run radio is pretty cool. So we wrap up the run right up here because more people were coming to comp and I needed to get out of the way. And I was pretty impressed with it, with the time I had on it. We are going to split this thing, which was super, super cool. Something that I haven't done recently, and again, just kind of showing it off. Those tires hooked up on that little slippery edge, and we got it in here, and everything held. So again, not the best tires that I own, not the worst tires that I own. They're a good middle ground tire, which for an RTR is pretty cool to see. So I think Furitek did a good job with this. The thing that people are always going to have a problem with is the price to scale, and that's difficult for people. But this thing is fully upgraded and custom, and it's on another level than anything else that's out there. And so that's where the price plays in. And so, yeah, I mean, that's how I feel about like the Gold Digger or the Hirayama. For the people that know how much these cost to build, they see the value in it. And I think that's what Furitek is trying to instill in people and say, just because it's smaller doesn't mean it doesn't have value. And I think that's a cool way to end this. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Have fun RCing. Catch you next time.